Hey people. Okay, so today we have a bunch of crazy dating stories. Um, I think most of these are first dates, and I think the next video that I have scheduled is also first dates. We're gonna do a back-to-back crazy first dates. So let's hop right into it.
Okay, so I have to tell you about this terrible first date. Met this guy a month ago. He was our waiter at a Mexican restaurant. He, at the end, gave me a note that said, "You're so beautiful, will you give me your number?" I gave him my number. I'm nothing if not a hopeless romantic. Let's go. So we start texting. His English isn't very good. My Spanish isn't very good. Our Spanglish, we can communicate. He immediately is asking me out. He's putting it in my court. He's like, "What do you want to do? When can I take you out?" So I picked a movie. I figured that was like low risk for a first date for somebody I have never hung out with, and I don't know that we can communicate that well. So I figured that was low risk. So the night before, we've like picked a movie, and I'm like, okay, how about we meet at 7:15 in the lobby? Movie starts at 7:20. He said, okay, great. And then he said, "Are you gonna bring a friend with you?" And I said I wasn't planning on it. Should I? And he said, "Oh no, then it won't just be you and me." And again, I'm like, okay, maybe we don't speak very well to each other, so maybe this is either a communication issue or a or a cultural difference. I don't know that you bring a chaperone on a first date. I don't know, but odd. I said, so he was like, okay, no, then it'll just be you and me. And I'm like, okay, great, I'll see you tomorrow. So I text him the next day on the day of our date. Like I got there early, and so I was just like, oh, I'm in the lobby, a pink sweater, and he said, okay, I'm running late. And I'm like, okay, fine. Not great for a first date, but okay. He's running late. The movie kind of like starts, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm running late." And I'm like, "It's okay. We probably haven't missed much yet, so it's okay." And he said, "Okay." And then he said, like 12 minutes after the movie is supposed to have started, he said, "Okay, I'm outside. I'm here." And I'm like, "Okay, great. See you soon." And he said, "Are you outside or inside?" "I'm inside." He said, "What do you say that we meet outside?" I said, "Why? It's cold." He said, "So that I know where to find you." And I said, "I'm the only one in the lobby right now." And then he didn't text back for a while, and I'm just waiting. And I'm like looking out the glass doors. I'm like, where is this man? What is going on? I'm the only one in the lobby. These high schoolers are probably embarrassed for me that I got stood up to a movie. I don't know. I'm waiting, and he's like, "The truth is I can't find you." And I'm like, "Are you at the movie theater? Are you at the movie theater by the Outback restaurant?" And then he says, "Can you send me your location?" No, at this point, I don't think you should have my phone number. Okay, there's gonna have to be a part two. I can't fit it in one.
Okay, so I'm gonna hop in real quick after the first clip. Like I'm already like a little annoyed. He's late. Then he's saying he can't find the place when you had ample time to look up the movie theater that you were going to before the date because it was, planned at least one day ahead. Like, come on. And then making sure, like, whether or not she was going to have somebody with her. Nah, this is getting a little odd.
Part two of my bad date story. So we left off. This man's asking for my location. "Will you send me your location?" I'm in the movie theater lobby. There's one movie theater in this town. There's a couple other small ones, but it's clear that we're not going there. But I'm still over here like, did he go to the right movie theater? Whatever. Doesn't matter. He doesn't deserve to have my location. Yikes. So I am still standing in the lobby, just waiting, seeing if he's going to come in, seeing if we're just having a communication issue. I'm still willing, but now I'm like nervous. I'm nervous. Why do you want me to meet you outside? I don't like that. So finally, I've waited too long, and I said, "Hey, we're missing the movie, so I'm just going to go home." And he said, "No, don't go. Like, we can still go, or do you want to go, like, get dinner or something, or do you want to watch a movie at my house?" Absolutely not. Another secondary location? No. So then he's like, calling me while I'm driving home. I'm already talking shit with my friend, telling them that, hey, I'm safe from the red flag that I almost went on a first date with. Red flag because he was late. I don't make the rules. And so I'm declining these calls. You're not worth my time if you're going to be late to a first date and then not show up and then be weird. What? So then he's like, "Please give me one more chance." And I'm like, "No, thank you." He's like, "Why? You left. You're angry." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't even know if you were at the right theater." And he sent me a picture from his car looking at the theater. And so I said, "Why didn't you come inside?" And he said, "The truth is I was driving there. I was late, and that's why." And I'm like, "What?" I said, "You said that you got here at 7:32, which is 12 minutes after the movie's supposed to start, and 17 minutes after we were supposed to meet. So you're already very late. And then you didn't come inside. I waited for you. You said you were outside at 7:32. I didn't leave until 7:48. That's too much time on my part, honestly. Like, I shouldn't have waited for that long. So instead, I got myself a bucket of popcorn and I asked a 16-year-old behind the counter to walk me to my car because I thought I was going to get kidnapped. Seriously, I asked a juvenile behind the movie theater counter if they would walk me to my car because my date was being weird and I didn't feel safe, and they looked very weirded out. It was these two young boys. And I was like, now it sounds like I'm going to kidnap you. I understand that, but I'm not going to. I bought a bucket of popcorn. I'm going home. Please walk me to my car. Thankfully, he walked me to my car. I did not get kidnapped. But like, what? He tried to get me to go out with him again. And texted me the next morning, good morning, beautiful. What?
So this guy is either utterly oblivious to dating behavior or he was up to something shady. Like, you're showing up late, that means there's no more people in the lobby, less witnesses. Then you try to lure her outside when you're supposed to be going inside to go to the movies. What was the point of asking her to come outside? And then to be there, quote unquote, quote unquote, be there at 7:32 and like never have made it inside, and she didn't leave until like almost 7:50. Like, no, something was going on with this. I wouldn't have answered him anymore either. Like, it feels all kinds of icky, and I think that a lot of people have to realize that girls have to take this stuff seriously. Trafficking happens, things like that happen, and we have to be like, on guard. This is extremely weird behavior, and just on the strength of him being weird and him being late, I totally would have just canceled the date and never spoke to him again. Like, no. Next story.
I have to talk about this date I went on. Okay, so I downloaded Bumble for a week, and after a week, I deleted it. I was like, I don't have time for this. There's weirdos on here. Don't want to be on Bumble anymore. Delete. So last week, I was standing outside of this restaurant waiting for my Uber, and this guy comes like sprinting up to me. And he was like, I saw you on Bumble. I never thought I would see you in person. Like, if I didn't introduce myself now, I didn't think I was going to get the chance. I really want to go out with you. Like, will you go out with me? And I was like, I actually appreciate that. I appreciate the confidence. Most guys wouldn't do that. Yes, I'll go out with you. Here's my number. Text me. We'll go out. Great. So he texts me that night, and then 2 days later, he's like, next week, Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. It's a date. I'll pick you up. I'm like, love that he's planning in advance. This has got to be like, a really great date that he has planned. He's waiting for his big moment a week in advance. He texts me the next day, and he's like, forgot to say, wear a dress. And I'm like, oh, where are we going? So date night comes around. I'm like getting all ready. I wear my best dress. I don't eat before because I'm like, we're probably going to go get some food. It's 7:30 p.m. dinner time, maybe do an activity. Like, what does he have planned? So he picks me up. We're like driving past all these nice hotels, these nice restaurants. I'm like, which one are we going to? We drive. We turn the corner. It gets very dark. Don't know where we are at this point. We turn another corner into this tiny little parking lot. I'm like, which one? Where are we? Basically. He's like, we're going through here. Walk through these little trees. I'm like, okay. Walk through the trees. We get to this little tiny courtyard, and I look around, and it's a hostel. It's a hostel, and there's a little tiny bar on the side. And there's a little courtyard. There is no one around except for like two guys like headbanging with their Beats headphones on, smoking a joint. I'm like, well, okay, maybe this is like the pre-dinner, like nice little chit-chat spot before we like continue on. So we go to the bar, and I'm like looking at the drink menu, and he's like, I don't drink alcohol. I was thinking we could just get some waters and we can talk. And I'm like, okay, I'll get a Diet Coke then. We'll get some waters. But is this the only place that we're going? Are we getting food after? Like, what's the plan for the night? Just so I'm mentally prepared. He's like, yeah, there's not really a plan. I don't do dinners on the first date. I'm like, okay, well, you told me to wear a dress. It's 7:30 at 8 o'clock at this point. I'm like, I'm starving. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, I don't do dinners. I'm like, all right. So I get up and I go ask the bartender. I'm like, what snacks do you have? Like, I'll pay for it if that's the issue. What snacks do we have? He's like, we have nachos and we have mozzarella sticks. I'm like, I'll get one of each and extra water. Please and thank you. So we sit down, and he starts talking about his entire life story, what he wants in a woman, how he's such a great catch. Everything he was saying, honestly, one ear out the other. I was listening to my stomach rumbling the entire time. I'm like, I don't even know what this man's saying. I'm just like, I need food. If we go get a pizza or like chicken fries at this point, I'd be happy. So he brings back the food after like 20 minutes. And the guy starts, I'm not kidding, eating like all of it. Like the mozzarella sticks, I think I had half of a mozzarella stick. So I was trying to be like dainty. So I like take a bite, put it down, take a bite. They were all finished. They're all gone. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, do you want to like, you know, should we grab a pizza after this? Like, what should we do? I have to wake up early the next day. It's Wednesday night. I'm like, you know, I can't be out too late. So 9 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, it's getting a little late. I got to go to CVS. I need to get like, you know, my earplugs, my NyQuil. He was like, I can take you there. We'll go to CVS together. I'm like, okay. In the back of my head, I'm like, I want snacks. So I go to CVS. He was like, I really didn't think our night was going to end here, but you know, I'm glad that we had such an amazing date. I'm like, yeah. So walking up all down the aisles of CVS, I grabbed like earplugs, NyQuil, grabbed popcorn, ice cream, like everything for the perfect night in by myself. And he's just watching all of this happen. So he drops me off and I went back upstairs. I sprawled out the ice cream. I had a glass of wine. I had the popcorn, the chips, the Cheetos, the whole 9 yards for the perfect night in. Had the best time. And he texted me. He was like, you know, we really should do this again sometime. You know, next time, like, you know, I'll bring some like crackers. Anyways, moral of the story is sometimes you should just not go on the date and you should just stay at home with all the snacks by yourself. Or I do think that the guy should maybe if you want to do a water date, it should be afternoon time or a coffee date in the morning. You should not pretend like you're planning it a week in advance and tell her to wear a dress when you are going to get waters. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I just think that I'll ask for the location next time of where we're going to be going and if I should eat ahead. So that's my date. Okay. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so when you ask a girl, hey, I'm planning a date and this date is a week away and the date is at dinner time, and you tell her, wear a dress, anyone would assume that that means dinner. Okay? And if we're eating dinner, of course, I'm not going to eat dinner before we eat dinner. Like, why not just be upfront and say, hey, that's not really my style. I don't really do, like, you know, dinners on the first date. Can we, like, do a coffee date or, like, you know, get waters at this nice little cafe or something like that? And it's just any kind of heads up whatsoever. And then, I'm not going to lie, like, the whole, like, turning down two streets and then through the trees and, like, you know, at a hostel, like, that feels so weird to me. I don't know. Once we reached the courtyard, I would have been like, you know, assessing my exits. I think I've mentioned before, I'm a highly paranoid person, so like I'm always on guard. But I would be like, I wouldn't be like, you know, I'm leaving the date, but I would definitely be looking for, like, you know, what's my quickest way out of here in case things go sideways. But oh goodness gracious, next story.
Hi, okay, so I went on a date last night, and I feel like I need to share this because men have the audacity. That is all they have, is the audacity, right? So he asked me what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go. We had never met before, and we had been talking for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And I was like, we should go mini golfing because it's better than dinner. It's more fun. And he was like, okay, sounds great. Let's go to this one. He sends me the location of one, and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go to that one. So we get there, and like, mind you, this man, all he talks about is like financial freedom and how he's so glad that he can do whatever he wants because he, you know, figured out his finances and he has a good job and he can afford his own car and house and whatever. He talks about this all the time. So this man shows up in an Audi R8, which, like, great, cool, fine, good for you. I don't really, like, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me at all, but like, good for you. So we get to the cashier and he was like, how many people? And we said 2. And the cashier was like, okay, it's $14. And my date looks at me and he was like, $14? And I was like, I mean, that's what the man said. And I was like, do you want me to help you pay for it? And he was like, oh, I just can't believe mini golf is so expensive these days. If you had taken me to dinner, it would have been more than $14 for just yourself. Also, you have like a really expensive car and all you talk about is how you're so happy that you can like travel and afford all these expensive things. And like, whatever, good for you. Like, I know everybody has different perspectives on things like that. And I never expect anyone to pay for me. I didn't expect him to pay for me at all. But like, why are you like physically cringing at this $14? I feel like that's cheap for mini golf. Mini golf can get really expensive these days at certain places, but whatever. So I was like, do you want me to help you pay for it? And he was like, oh, it's fine. I guess I'll pay for it. And I was like, okay, off to a good start, right? So then the cashier was explaining that there's 2 different courses. There's a winter and a summer. And the cashier looks at me and he was like, which one do you want to do? And then my date looks at me. He's like, yeah, which one do you want? And I was like, we should do summer. That sounds fun. And then my date looks at me and then he looks at the cashier and he goes, we'll do winter. So why did you ask me? Why did you bother asking me? Even the cashier looked at me like, okay, like, why did you ask her, sir? Whatever. So I was like, okay, so naturally we did that one because I wasn't going to be like, no, I don't want to. I didn't really care either way, but like, why did you ask me, you know? So we went to go do that one, and one of the first things he asks me was, have you seen Star Wars? And I was like, no, I've actually never seen any of them. And he was like, why are we here? And he got like very mad, like really mad. And I was like, what do you mean, why are we here? And he was like, why are we on this date right now? And I was like, I didn't realize that was like a qualifying factor. I didn't realize that was like a deal breaker, you know? You probably should have asked that like as the first thing you asked me. You shouldn't have said, hey, you should have said like, have you seen Star Wars, right? So we got like really, really mad, and he was like, you're so uncultured, you've never seen Star Wars, like I can't believe this. He started getting really mad, and I was like, okay. He complained about that for like, I don't know, 30 seconds. 30 minutes, not 30 seconds. And so he just kept complaining about that. And then I kept winning. I kept getting holes in one. And he was like, you practiced before we got here. And I was like, no, I didn't. And he was like, yeah, you did. And I was like, yeah, you caught me. I went to a mini golf place and I just sat there and practiced for hours of my life just so I could beat you on this date. Huh? Anyway, then at the end, it just kept getting worse and worse. That was just like two of the things that happened. And then at the end, he was like, I can't wait to see you again. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, guess I'll drive home now, even though gas in my car is super expensive. I didn't know you lived far away. You chose this place.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Okay. I'm sorry. Anyone who just immediately comes up and starts talking about, like, I make all this money, I do this, I do that, that is an immediate turnoff for me. Like, sir, please, no, absolutely not. And then to immediately turn around and balk at the price of $14 for mini golf. The last time I paid $14 for mini golf was almost 10 years ago. That is actually pretty daggone cheap for mini golf. And then on top of that, okay, then to ask her which one she wanted to do, even though she said that she really didn't have a preference, he asked her which one that she wanted to do and then picked the opposite. That right there was some kind of like weird, like, I don't even know what to call it. It's not it's some kind of weird mind games. Okay. And then, okay, so first of all, I am a giant Star Wars fan, okay? Does it matter to me to the point where I would break up with someone if they never saw Star Wars? No, I would be like, oh, hey, I have someone new to show this to. But my goodness, to just complain about it for a half an hour to just complain about that she's never seen Star Wars. Like, no, absolutely not. And then, like, to end the date by complaining about the gas prices for your car. Sir, did you expect her to hand you gas money just for meeting her out there? That's your responsibility. If I go to meet somebody on a date, I put the gas in my car because I am definitely not getting into your car. I've seen this comment on a lot of these videos and stuff like that, you know, looking at a lot of these for the last couple of days. Let's normalize starting to leave in the middle of dates. Just leave. Dude gets out of pocket, just leave. Dude says something sketchy, just leave. Dude's behaving sketchy, just go. Leave them right where they are. That's why, always carry a little bit of cash. Throw some cash on the table for your half so you don't have to worry about Cash Apping him, Venmoing him, Zelling him, nothing. Okay? Throw a little bit of cash on the table and say, I'm out. Oh my goodness. She's right. The audacity. Ugh.
I was told to make this video, so I'm going to share with you my hinge date from hell. And to be honest, at this point, I feel like I need to start making this a series because I really just be going through it. So first off the bat, I naturally think I'm in an episode of Love is Blind because the person that I matched with doesn't have that many pictures, but like the little bit that he did have, like you could just tell that those were old pictures. And so I asked for his Instagram and I saw that he had no post, but he had some tagged photos. And so I checked the tagged photos and I had to go, FBI shit and look up like his pictures, like his most recent one, and there was only one that like you could kind of see his side profile but like not really. And so I was really just going on a limb here.
I'm gonna sit up for this. So then we're talking and we're texting and the banter is good. He's like funny, sarcastic, like it's like right up my alley, right? And I'm like, you know what, even though I don't fully know what he looks like, I like his personality. So I agreed to go on a date. And he suggested we do dinner and karaoke. Now, I'm not saying I did the smartest thing, but I definitely gave him my address so that he could pick me up and so that we could go together. In my mind, I thought that was a good idea. Don't be like me. Don't be a dumb bitch. So then he picks me up, like the day, like we talked for about like a week and a half, and then we met up. And he picks me up, and the karaoke place that he picks is literally an hour away. But before we even get into that, my first impression of him, I was so nervous. I always am nervous when I'm going on a date with someone. So I literally only looked at him for like 5 seconds. And in those 5 seconds, I was like, oh, like he's cute. Like he's pretty cute, actually. And so I was like feeling good about it. We get in the car, and I like really start to analyze his features. And I'm like, Immediately I think, you know what, I'm not like fully into how he looks, but it doesn't matter because I wanted to still like go on the date because I was interested in the, like in his personality. So keep that in mind. So we have an hour in this Uber ride, and not Uber ride, in the car ride. And I'm telling myself, like, you know, let's get to know each other kind of thing. And so we're asking each other questions, and he's asking a lot about my past and my past relationships or past really anything that I had going on with a guy. And so I am being fully transparent and telling him all my business basically, but like not OD, you know, I'm keeping it general. Let's keep in mind that he's also sharing stuff about himself too, so it's not like I'm the only one. So whatever, we get to the place, and like I said, I already decided that like looks wise he's not like fully my type, but we get to the restaurant and we order, and y'all, so the way that the layout was set up, right, there's like TVs everywhere. So he's asking me a question about like my high school experience and whatever. So I'm telling him, and I see that he keeps looking back like constantly because he's looking at the TV. He's looking at the football game. And I'm one of those people like, you need to give your attention to me or I'm going to feel a type of way. So I immediately was already feeling annoyed about it. So he's not paying attention to me, but he's not fully ignoring me either. Like he can still like jump into the conversation with me. And so I was just like, you know, okay, whatever. And I am by no means funny. I am not like the funniest person ever, but whatever I said had him laughing so loud and so obnoxiously that the servers and the people around literally were stopping to stare at us and to ask if we're okay. Bitch, do you know how loud you need to be in order for the bar tenders and the people at the bar to stop what they're doing to look at you? And I'm sitting here like this, like I'm like, and he is full on cackling. So after that, I immediately was like, nah, like he's really fucking weird. And keep in mind, I am also on my sobriety journey. I am fully sober, and definitely feel like it's hard being sober in your 20s, but it's especially hard being sober in your 20s and dating. And so I had already told him that I was sober and that I wasn't planning on drinking. Even though we were still doing karaoke, I wasn't planning on drinking. And he was like, well, if you're sober, then I'm sober. And I was like, you know what, that's actually pretty sweet because you don't have to do that, but you know, you're showing like you're very considerate. We get to the restaurant. Why this man orders 2 beers. And I was just like, you know, fine, whatever. But like in the back of my mind, I'm like, you just said he was gonna be sober, so now you're lying. But again, it's whatever. So we're still talking. He's still being fucking loud and laughing like a fucking maniac. And then he gets quiet and he's like in space and into his own thought. And I'm like, what are you thinking about? And he's like, you should drink. I'm like, what? I was like, why? Like, no, I'm okay. I was like, why? And he goes, I just think that you should drink. And I was just like, no thanks, I'm all right. Mind you, the minute he said that, I already like, ick, gross. Like, why would you even say that to me? Like, bitch, what if I had a fucking alcohol problem and you hear, you should drink? Like, no one asked you, okay? Genuinely, in that moment, I knew that he was not getting a second date. Now I'm just trying to push to the karaoke part because now I made it through dinner. And now we were like, okay, let's do karaoke. And I was like praying that this date would go by faster because it felt like I was in my own personal little hell. So we get to karaoke and this man, we're singing. At first I'm like, you know what, it's not so bad. Like he's singing, I'm singing, and we're having a good time. It's whatever. But he orders 2 sojus for himself. And I was like, all right. And meanwhile, I'm fucking parched. I'm dehydrated. I want water. And like, before y'all say, oh, like you could have asked him or you could have told him, I feel like on a date, like you should also be considerate of your partner and ask, hey, it's like, do you want something to drink? Water, fucking soda, Sprite, ginger ale, really anything. But he didn't do that. And so I was not going to be the one to like say, oh, I want a water or I want ginger ale. Like I was thugging it out, bro. I was raw dogging it. My fucking throat was like it was hurting. I was choking. So afterwards, we're singing, and out of nowhere he's like, you should freestyle. And I'm like, I don't want to freestyle. Like, I don't know how to freestyle. I don't know how to rap, bitch. I'm not Nicki Minaj. And he goes, like, you should do it though. Like, you should try it. And I'm like, how about you do it? And then I will like follow your lead. Like if I see you do it, maybe I can do it. Starts freestyling and he starts rapping. And this man starts rapping about my dating history, about my past. Like straight up starts saying, Nikki's been heartbroken 3 times and she not over it. Yeah, she's not over it, but she's still bad though. Like she a baddie though. And I'm like, sir, in what moment do you think that I told you about my past and my history, bitch, my fucking traumas, so that you could rap about it? Like, what? Like, y'all, I had never ever in my life had someone rap about the shit that I've been through. And so he finishes his rap, a 3-minute rap, bro. And he's like, all right, your turn. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to rap. I was like, I don't want to rap about your life. And I don't want to rap about anything that you told me. Literally just go silent. He puts on a song and I'm like, you're not going to sing? And he's like, no. And you could just tell he got so sassy. What the fuck is up with this song? So I'm like, all right, so if you're not going to sing, like, we're just going to sit here in silence. And he's like, yup. And so we're literally sitting in silence in this karaoke booth. And we're just hearing the beat to this song that I don't even know. And in that moment, bitch, in that moment, I genuinely was like, I miss my ex. I do. I really, in my mind, I was like, because as a shit of a man as he was, there's no way he would have had me sitting in this damn fucking karaoke booth in silence. I was appalled. And so I'm like, all right. And I don't know what to say. I don't even know what to do, bro. Like, I'm literally just sitting in silence because I cannot speak. Man goes, what time you trying to get home? I'm like, not too late. And so he was like, let's do one more song and then we can head out. And I'm like, sure. I'm like, give me an artist and I'll choose the song. So he gives me Nicki Minaj. I'm trying to type it in. And he's sitting with his arms back, you know, like this. And he's just like, Nicki, come into my arms. I was like, what? Like, I pretended I didn't hear. I was like, what? And he's like, come into my arms. Y'all, this shit is gonna need a part 2, but he goes, come into my arms, and I'm like, I'm not affectionate. Like, I had to lie. I didn't want to be in his arms. I don't know what the fuck he's trying to do, bro. All right, Deadass, like, we're gonna need part 2.
Okay, so I absolutely did not look for part 2. So some of these videos, I only watched like the first beginning of it just to make sure that like it's an interesting story, and then like later I'll watch the whole video and then give you like my initial reaction. But this right here, part 1, is enough. It's enough. Like, this is so absolutely out, like, just, it's crazy. Okay, first of all, the old pictures, that's a huge red flag for me, for catfishing and stuff like that. Like, I'm not a fan of, like, I want some recent pictures, but I'll be the kind of person that, like, you know, like, if I don't see any recent pictures, like, I'll ask you, like, take a recent picture so that I can see you. The second thing, like, okay, like, there's a ton of TVs around. The TVs are flashy. They're going to catch your attention and stuff. At least he was still participating in the conversation. We'll give him, a pink flag for that one. The laughing so loud so that the bartenders could act like we're actually stopping to ask if you were okay. That's a little bit much. That's where, like, you know, I'm starting to consider, leaving. Now, the part where I would have just left is when she told him that, like, you know, hey, I'm being sober, blah, blah, blah. And then he agreed that he was going to be sober as well. So, like, then he decided to order himself some drinks. Okay, not a big deal. Whatever, like, you know, I'm sober. You don't have to be sober with me. But then when he started trying to convince her to drink, that is a problem. No, thank you, sir. If someone says that they're being sober, respect that, leave it alone. That's it. You don't have to ask them why. You don't have to ask them a million questions. You don't have to try to convince them to drink. That is it. No is a complete and total sentence. Thank you very much. And then the last part, like, if I didn't leave at the, convincing you to drink part, the rapping about my past that I had just told you, that is just completely unacceptable. Now, first of all, I'm not dumping that much of my past on a first date anyway. It's not a good idea. But just putting that out there for everybody to like hear in the karaoke bar, absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not. Get out of here. You're done. All right, so that's the last of our videos today. We're going to have another crazy dating stories for the next video. I am going to be, just changing up the schedule, just doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I've had a lot of stuff going on the last couple of weeks. It just seems like, have you ever had one of those times where like you get into your stride with something and then like everything in the background blows up and it's like, oh, okay, like the universe is trying to keep me from doing this cool thing that I'm doing. But anyway, we take it in stride. We pick ourselves back up. We make a different plan. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just for now. And then we'll go ahead and, up that later once things settle down. So thanks for hanging out with me. And bye. Oh yeah, and hit the subscribe button. And nobody has commented turtles yet.